Hello and welcome to You Sew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel all about the crafty bits and pieces I get up to. I knit, I sew, I spin on a drop spindle, I dabble in weaving from time to time, and anything else that takes my crafty fancy. But today we're taking a look at the things I've been working on in November. So grab a brew, put your feet up and let's get started. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and to any new viewers a very warm welcome to you. Now, as I mentioned in the opening to this video, we're looking at the things I've been working on in November today. Now, it's not quite the end of November just yet. I'm filming this on Thursday the 24th of November, so not quite the end of the month. Actually, it's Thanksgiving in the States today, isn't it? So yeah, I hope you had a good one, because obviously it'll be over by the time you see this. Now, before I get diving into the things I've been working on in November, let's take a look at what I am wearing. I have two me-made things on today. I have the South Bank sweater, which is a Nina Lee pattern. I've made this in a jersey from Minerva, so there's more on this on my Minerva profile. And I'm wearing the Shrug, Hug, Hug, Shrug, whichever way around it is, by Knitting Expat. I made this in a chunky yarn, so it was quite a quick and easy make. It's an interesting pattern because whilst the knit itself is quite simple, the workings behind it, the numbers behind it are quite clever. You can actually put in to the pattern, well, it's gridded out on the pattern so that you can knit it in a variety of different yarn weights and at a variety of different gauges. So whatever yarn you've got, you should be able to find a version that works for you in that same pattern. So yeah, that's Knitting Expat. I did this as a test knit and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will probably at some point make another one in a different weight of yarn. Who knows when that'll happen though. Okay, so moving on to finished objects. And I have two finished objects to show you. One that's pretty much finished, almost very close to being finished at the end of October. And that is the Stephen West Mystery Knits shawl from this year, which is the Twists and Turns shawl. I will put a picture up on the screen of me wearing it because it's a little tricky to get it in shot. So yeah, this shawl is knit in Holst Tides, which is a wool silk blend. I've used the colourways June, Raven and Sea Lavender. So clue one was this chevron-y thing with the braids in the middle. Then we moved on to clue two, which was these black, the Raven and Sea Lavender wings. Clue three, this was clue two as well, the cables. Clue three was the long Sea Lavender meandering strip, and clue four was the June and Raven striped wings and the bottom bit of the chevrons. So it's an interesting shape. I've not made a shawl this shape before. It's quite simple to wear. It has had some wear, not a massive amount yet because it hasn't been quite cold enough, but it has had some wear, and the wool silk blend is much warmer than I anticipated it to be. But of course, being a Stephen West mystery knit along shawl, and he has this fear of having people run out of yarn partway through, which is fair enough, I do have lots of yarn left over. So I have so far worked up a pair of fingerless mitts in June. These have had a bit more wear than the shawl. My fingers get colder than my neck. So yeah, these are June in Tides. I didn't use a pattern for these, I sort of made it up as I went along and measuring it against my hand as I knit it up. And yeah, quite happy with those. I need to decide what to do with the rest of the leftover yarn from that shawl. I have a whole cake of Raven and a whole cake of Sea Lavender left, and I have most of a cake of June. I had to dip into it a little bit to finish the mitts. And little bits left of the previous cake of both Raven and Sea Lavender as well. So plenty of yarn there to get maybe a hat, maybe a cowl, who knows. Maybe I'll save it for some colour work. Maybe I'll make some mittens, I don't know. But I'll come up with something. So yeah, so that's my finished objects, just the two this month. But I have been doing a lot of knitting during the month of November. First thing I'm going to show you is something that I started years and years and years ago and will still be going for years and years and years, and that's my scrap projects. Now, in this box I have the beginnings of 3 scrap blankets. They're all in fingering weight-ish, so they're going to take a little while to actually get done. I have one mitered square sock yarn project on the go, one crochet sock yarn project on the go, and I have the very, very beginnings of a hand spun knitted one as well, but that I haven't really worked on. I haven't worked on at all in November, so I'm just going to show you the other 2 blankets for now, because they're a little bit more interesting. The crochet one, I don't think I've added any squares to this in November, but it's been a little while since I showed it to you. So I am using squares from, I think it's called Scraptastic. I'll put the name of the pattern that I've taken the squares from up on the screen, which actually uses squares in, the main blanket pattern uses squares in different sizes, but I wanted squares that were all the same size. So I've just taken the smaller squares from that pattern and I'm working them up and fixing them together. So that's as far as that one's got. So you can see it's going to take me a long time to complete it. Now the process that I take when I have scraps that are, or open skeins that are not quite enough to put into another project, is I will actually first work on my knitted scrap blanket, which I have put a few squares on this month. Let's see if I can get it the right way up. So this is using the Coziest Memories pattern. This is as far as I've got so far. It is all sock yarn, some of it commercial, some of it indie dyed. It's all sock weight rather, I should say. I will be adding in yarns that I've dyed myself, where I've only done a little bit dabbling and dyeing, so those will be going into this one as well. If I've spun them, so my leftover hand spun yarn is going into another Cozy Memory just of hand spun, so that's going to take even longer to get to the point of being a usable blanket. But it's a nice way to use up scraps. So the leftovers go first into this project, and then if there's leftovers from this, they get wound up into a magic ball to then use for the crochet squares. So one scrap project rolls over into the other one. So that's a nice way to do it. It means I have very little in the way of scraps just lying around. They are designated into a project, and because I'm using the magic ball for the crochet blanket, I'm not having to worry about changing colours on different rounds, and it also means even the little bits of scraps I can put into that because it's a magic ball. So it's quite efficient at using up yarns. The other place that I use open skeins of yarn, so partially used skeins, is my weaving. So if you're following my Weave Along series, you'll have seen me starting to weave the sky on this project. I am hoping to get this finished by the end of the year, so I've still got the rest of the sky to weave up, and then I'll be doing a video on the finishing stages and getting this one off the loom. So I've come up with this design myself, and there is, as I say, a whole series of Weave With Me videos. I am a learner when it comes to weaving, so whilst I am happy to share what I have picked up along the way, I'm not a weaving teacher as such. I will share what I've learned, and you might pick up some tips from it, learners teaching learners, but I'm not the most experienced with weaving, and it does show in places. There's a few tension issues with this, but I'm okay with that. The last weaving I did on this loom, when I took it off, the tension issues largely disappeared. They weren't like completely gone, but they were certainly improved by being taken off the loom. So I'm hoping the same is going to happen with that one, but we'll see. The other work in progress that I've got to show you today has been most of my crafting this month. It should be finished within the next weekish, and there will be a video coming up about the making of this project. This is my heavily modified Flax Light. Now I am using Knit Picks palette to knit this project in. It's all leftover yarn from my Terra Nova sweater, which is the all over colourwork and lace sweater that I knit probably about a year ago now, but beginning of 2022 I think I finished that one. So when I ordered the yarn, I knew I would have enough for a second garment because it was 50 gram skeins and the pattern called for 25 gram skeins. But it was cheaper to do Knit Picks palette than buy the yarn that was called for in the pattern. So I knew I was going to have a load left over. I bought it with the intention of making a second garment. So this is the second garment. Now, as you can see, I've done the bulk of the knitting. I am going to be modifying this into a cardigan. So I am currently working on the button bands. So I've picked up to knit the button bands, and I'm going to be steeking into a cardigan. So far, so normal. What's a little bit less normal is the sleeves are not detached from the body yet. So it does hang a little bit weird when I hang it up, because all the sleeve decreases are in place. So it sort of curves in at the bottom a bit. But once I've steeked the sleeves, my stripes are going to match up perfectly, because I've knit everything in the round. Now, the reason I've done this is because I was using leftover yarns, and I didn't want to guesstimate how much yarn I would need to get the sleeves to match the body as I was knitting it. So I wasn't following a pattern. All the yarns were different amounts left over. So I just knit in the round the whole way around and inserted steek panels. And I'll be showing a bit more of this in the video that comes up in a week or two when I've finished this particular project. So I opted to attach the sleeves to the body and steek them later. I can do that with this yarn because it is a pure non-superwash wool. It felts really well, and I knew I could steek it very well because the Terra Nova has lots of steeks in it. Yes, you can steek superwash yarn. It's a little bit more finicky when it comes to reinforcing the steek though. I do a crochet chain up my steeks, which is not the most stable in the world, but it will keep the cut edges tidy whilst I finish things up. So for a woolly yarn, a non-superwash yarn, that is absolutely fine. It's more than enough to keep things together. I probably could steek this without reinforcing at all because of the type of yarn that I'm using. A superwash yarn, however, I would probably want to run a line of stitching up with the sewing machine before cutting it, which would be a lot more fiddly in this project because of the space with the sleeves. But that's that. So that's very, very nearly done. Need to finish the bottom bands and then I can steek it. And as I say, keep an eye out for the upcoming video on the modifications that I've made for that project at some point in December. And yeah, that's my project. So that's my making this month. There's not a huge amount of stuff going on in terms of quantity of projects, but in terms of progress that's been made, I've made a lot of progress on that flax light over the course of the month. And tapestry weaving is a relatively slow process, so there's a fair bit of time that's gone into that. So looking ahead for December, those of you who are regular viewers will know that over the past few years I've done Vlogmas each year with daily vlogs uploaded to my channel. I will be doing some form of Vlogmas this year, but for a couple of reasons it's unlikely to be daily posts. Certainly not daily full length vlogs like I've done in the past. First of all, I've not got a huge amount of Christmassy events planned over December, so rather than just putting up loads of videos of you watching me sitting around playing Xbox or typing or what have you, I will probably run a few days together, possibly a week together, possibly a few days, we'll see how it goes. Unless there's something going on that's worth a standalone video, in which case it'll get its own. So it won't be sort of a daily upload schedule. It might be once a week, it might be a couple of times a week. The other reason for doing it this way is that there's a few life bits going on, nothing to worry about, just things are a bit busy. So in terms of the time it takes to edit and upload a video, it's not really feasible to do every single day during December for me this year with the full length videos. And also I find as a viewer of Vlogmas, with everybody doing the daily uploads, it can get a little bit tricky to keep up with all of them. So I'm thinking if I do every few days or a weekly vlog or something, that it'll be a bit more easy for people who want to keep up with my vlogs to do so, if they choose to, because obviously you don't have to watch them. So that's my thinking behind it. I am toying with the idea of playing with shorts a little bit. I haven't done any YouTube shorts yet. I've done a couple of reels on Instagram and I think it's pretty much the same thing. So you never know, there might be little snippets coming up on shorts as I sort of learn how they work, but we'll see. So yeah, so that's my thinking for December. And the other benefit of not doing daily vlogs is it gives me time to keep doing my normal weekly videos. Whereas in previous years I've just done Vlogmas and I've stopped my weekly videos for December. I won't have to do that this year. So I'll have the weekly video going out, and then in between times, at some point during the week, there'll be a vlog coming out of either a few days or a week, or however I manage to get it put together. So there will be content, there will be Vlogmas, it just won't be quite in the same format as it has been in previous years. So yeah, hopefully I'll actually get around to buying the ingredients for my Christmas pudding Christmas cake, because I know that's a popular thing to feature on Vlogmas. I should, in theory, be making my Christmas cake and Christmas pudding on Sunday, but I've not bought the ingredients yet, so that might not happen. It might be in December, like it normally is. I'm just not that organised. So yeah, so that's my plans. Yeah, not too long a video this week. It's a little bit of a roundup. For those of you who are new to the channel, I do aim to put a video out every weekend, and as I say, that will be continuing through December this year, with the accompanying Vlogmas in between. And if you've enjoyed spending time in my company, please feel free to do the stuff down below that all the YouTubers tell you. I would love to see you in the next video. But until then, happy crafting and bye bye for now.